Hey there, welcome to Crash Course Civilization. So my name is John Green, and today we're talking about an ancient civilization developed around the time of 30 BC, and geographically close to the Roman Empire. With environmental factors like random flooding, irregular seasonal patterns, and vulnerability to invasion, we have the civilization Namafongram. The civilization was heavily influenced by its creation myth. Cue the intro. According to the texts that have been recovered from the area where the civilization lied, we have translated this creation story that we believe they believed in. Between what we now call Venus and Mars was a short-tempered deity named Ingiod, the fire god. His goal was to create the perfect world for life. You can imagine how that went. This deity had been working toward his goal for a very long time, and he was becoming very frustrated. On one occasion, he was sure he had executed his plan perfectly, but it didn't go as planned and he failed miserably. He became so angry that he created a massive fireball out of anger. Meanwhile, a few planets away, there was a water goddess by the name of Nemuniak. This large fireball caught her eye and she was drawn towards it. Once she reached the flaming piece of dirt, the fire deity was fuming. As she calmed him down, the large flaming ball was engulfed in water and the surface was transformed into a new planet with damp dirt. The water goddess added rivers, oceans, mountains, and valleys to help Ingiod achieve his goal of creating the perfect world. One of the valleys she created was definitely unique. The center of this valley was the gateway between the earth and the supernatural world, where life could be created. One day, a large hand formed from water emerged from the center of the great valley. This water hand was holding a man, who was then placed gently onto the land. He began his life alone on this little perfect planet. The gods felt pity for his lonely self, so they flooded the magic hand to form the great river at the center of the valley to accommodate life. Soon after, the great valley was filled with plants and animals. Then, to keep the man company, there was the creation of a woman, which, as the process of life continues, led to more and more people. The men and women of this valley started using the land to plant crops for food. Day after day, more males and females were created, and the citizens of the civilization realized the significance of the great river. Eventually, due to their selfishness, the people wanted the power of the great river, so they did something that no one ever had the courage to do. Helping each other out, the first man that had been created swam to the bottom of the great river. Ingiod and Nemuniak felt this disturbance in their creation of the earth. Once they found out about the sins the humans were committing, they cursed the Great Valley Society for their greed and insatiable desires. The water goddess became very angry with the people, disrespecting this beautiful world she created for them, so to spite humans for all eternity, she would randomly flood the river for their greediness. The fire god also cursed the people of the valley with fluctuating weather patterns and irregular seasons. Later, as we talk more about the cultural aspects of the civilization, you will see the influence of the creation myth in other parts. To start off, the civilization had a very unique system of government. It shows different aspects of government, for example, representation, democracy, lineage systems, and many more. Shreya can explain more about it. Take it away.
Okay, now we're talking about the structure of the government for Nemof-Ongam. Each family has a head person, and the head person in their households goes to council meetings every 2 weeks. This person's like a representative, and this person is always a woman, which represents matriarchy, and this civilization also has a chief. They can be either woman or male, but they were mostly women. Also, there is a deputy chief who checks what the chief does to pass laws and to make decisions for the civilization. And any problems from the head's households, and they tell the head their problems, and then the head tells the chief, and the deputy checks what the problems of the chief are. And then for a clarification is, each household is the whole extended family. So the head maintains the whole bloodline, and here's a diagram for you. And all the problems go to them. and all the ideas also go to them. So if any household heads have ideas for the chief, then they go to the chief, and the deputy chief checks the ideas to make sure they're okay for their civilization. And that's the structure of the government.
Thanks, Shreya. On a similar topic, the social hierarchy in this civilization is quite unique. In contrary to many other civilizations where it was patriarchal or relatively equal throughout, this civilization shows how their structure was heavily based off of matriarchy. So how it all worked.
Noble Omgam, the greatest of greats, where social structure is created from an obdurate, malleability and mobility, and things can go wrong, like a first man mistake, never to repeat. There are 4 class divisions, all with different jobs and privileges: the working class scholars, the women, and the rulers. Last comes the working class regarding the men, belabored by the sin of first hand, sweating, plowing, digging, raking, treated to little respect and dignity. Third come the scholars, regardless of gender, looked upon with wonder and awe, to write away the great sayings of the world. Second come the women, blessed with the gift of reproduction, mother, great river, the housekeeper, divine being brought to earth by sacred numerology. Greatest of all comes the ruler, heavenly and connected to slave, aka God, treated with great respect and spirituality, who is the one bringing order to the world.
Alrighty, well, whatever just happened over there. They mentioned job specialization, and we learned that the men in the working class are the ones who do the farming, feed the family, whereas the woman's role is to bear children, take care of children, knit, weave, etc. There are certain job specializations, such as writing, being a scholar, and being the ruler, which isn't assigned to a certain gender, although most of them have been women. The development of technology and tools that were used closely tied into the different jobs. Riley can explain more about it. Take it away.
In Nemolf Ongum, there were different tools that could help out with various activities, ranging from everyday things to jobs. For example, technology such as the irrigation system was created to bring water from the river and to get to the crops, which ultimately becomes food for the people. Second technological development was a very early form of sewage, like the Indus Valley. Tools such as mallets were created to precisely write words and symbols on clay tablets, developed through the fertile soil and connecting to a scholar's job specialization. Lastly, a very simple yet useful tool developed around the time period of Nemolf Ongum was the plow/shovel used in agriculture related to a man's job specialization. Nemolf Ongum made many advancements in technology, most of which are still used in society today.
Thanks, Riley. Transitioning to belief system. They believe in something called Srivastava. Can almost be solely derived from the creation myth. This is a belief system in which they believe in 2 deities. One is called Ingiod and the other Nemuniac. Ingiod being the male deity of flame and Nemuniac being the female deity of water. This belief system consists of 5 tenets to conduct their behavior accordingly. Number 1, balance. This is a key element in the creation story, since there is one male and female deity in the balance of fire and water. This is very different from other civilization because fire symbolizes sin in this case. This balance was taken very literally. For example, each family can only have 2 children, 1 of each gender, and if more than one is had of each, then they must be sacrificed into the great river. This leads us to the second tenet, sacrifices. On the same topic of sacrifices related to balance, the parents of the child must perform a sacrificial ritual. First, to sacrifice the baby into the river, they have to play a simple melody on any instrument, like a wooden flute or whatever, and then they have to provide the baby with its last amount of food to aid its soul after it's dead. Then finally, they have to actually throw the baby into the river where the soul will be carried to a different baby soon to be born. Sort of like the concept of reincarnation. Number 3. Forgiveness was another tenet of the belief system. Stated that one must condone or excuse one's mistake in order for them to learn and never repeat it again. The reason this tenet appeared was because the first guy
who was really dumb and greedy. Anything else is worth forgiving because it can't be as bad as that. Number 4. The next tenet was charity and included mostly all belief systems. A great example of this charity tenet in action is in 30 BC when they gave some surplus crops and extra help to families in need. Number 5. Honesty was an important tenet to follow. The honesty kept order amongst the people and helped people of the civilization become more of a unified place. So everyone felt comfortable with everyone. This avoided major antagonizing actions like prisons and punishments as extreme as chopping off a hand. Continuing our segment of cultural aspects and values in this civilization, there are 3 main aspects that archaeologists found in this civilization: varied forms of art, instruments, and remains of writing. Vinuka can explain more about these findings.
Hey guys, I'm here at the Numov Angam Civilization Art Museum, and I'm here with a very special piece of art. This artwork was created on a clay tablet and depicts an important scene in the creation myth, the making of the man, hence its title, Sonomo Otiarko Duke. For further clarifications, or in case you forgot, this depicts a magical water hand, or the goddess, creating the man in the Great River. Another varied form of artwork was monumental architecture. The first developed monumental architecture was a temple/shrine dedicated to the god and goddess as a symbol of thanks. This was also used to host some of the ceremonies and rituals. Next, transitioning to the musical aspect of their culture is a wooden flute and recorder instrument. Connecting the dots, these instruments served purposes of entertainment and something used in ritual sacrifices and ceremonies previously mentioned in the demonstration of neonatal sacrifices. Often, their music, talent, or culture was required by most everyone known to know because mainly for the sacrificial baby rituals, auspicious ceremonies, and least likely for the entertainment. Lastly, writing was a third main cultural value found in Numov Angam. Their writing was translated by reversing the order of the phrase and spelling the word backward in Latin. According to archaeologists and historians, this is best explained by the proximity of Numov Angam is to the Roman Empire, which is Latin is their language. They speculate that Numov Angam became due to some Romans disagreeing with their culture, so they eventually migrated many miles to the east. See, that's the most probable answer. But there are also some debates about the story being the other way around. These people believe that only the reason the Roman civilization was created was because of the rogue people who left Numov Angam. Both of these equally possible since they developed in a relatively close time period. For a better understanding of the Latin word part, let's take a look at some aspects of both the written languages and compare. For example, take a look at the name of the civilization. Numov Angam is backwards, is Mango Flumen, which literally means Great River in Latin. And that final remark closes off the Numov Angam 3 main cultural values. Yet, after all this information on Numov Angam, you must be wondering, why is this important? Why is the government important, etc., etc.? Well, their government had major philosophies used still today in representation and cultural democracy. The clay tablets of art, still intact today, depicted important cultural aspects of their beliefs. The development of instruments and music in the civilization beheld a legacy of great musical talent or importance diffused to other places. Their style of writing is phonetic, alphabetic, and shows its weight today. Lastly, their social structure and relation shows women what somewhat modernity of the civilization, since nowadays people always fight for women's rights. Well, this legacy of the Numov Angam great civilization. Back to you, Axel.
Alrighty, well that's a wrap for this crash course on the civilization Numov Angam. Good day.